Dark Type Pokemon, the most evil type to ever exist till this day, being introduced back in Generation 2 to counter the overpowered Psychic type at the time. 30 years later, Dark Type Pokemon, despite their evil reputation, are more considered misunderstood. And in today's video, we're actually going to break that misunderstanding and show how pure these Dark types are by basically ranking them in a head-to-head matchup in each generation to decide which Dark type Pokemon is the best to come out of said generation. Yeah, this video is not going to break the stereotype at all for these Dark types. I feel so bad. But this is an ongoing series where I basically make a video on every single type, who the best Pokemon is from each generation. I have done about 4 types already. If you guys want to see that, I have a whole playlist on my channel. A link to that playlist would also be in the description below. If you guys don't know the rules yet, if this is your first time seeing this type of video, basically rules are simple. The first rule, the typing doesn't count for said Pokemon if they're holding said item. An example of that is Silvally and Arceus. They're not going to count for any of these typing videos other than the original typing. Another rule, I know certain Pokemon who Mega Evolve or Dynamaxes will gain a certain typing, but we are not counting any of those. We are actually going to make a separate video just specifically on Mega Pokemon and specifically on Dynamax Pokemon. So we're only talking about the original, the regular type of Pokemon that is just dark. Wow, that sounded very, very bad out of context. And another thing, I want to let you guys know how these videos work. I separate each Pokemon in certain categories for each generation. All the generations are going to have the pure dark type Pokemon, and then I'm going to categorize them as the dual type dark Pokemon. Certain generations will have their own regional form category. Obviously, in the later generations, they have more gimmicks that comes out, so that is going to be their separate category as well. Before we get into this video, make sure you guys like this video if you guys enjoy this series. Also, comment down below which typing you guys want to see next. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, follow my Twitch, Discord, all my other socials. Links to everything is also going to be in the description below. Starting with Generation 1, yes, the OG generation, the Kanto region, my generation. Man, I'm old. But this generation, there was actually no dark types to get introduced. Yes, dark types only got introduced in Generation 2, as I mentioned earlier in the video, so we are skipping over for the Kanto region. Moving on to Generation 2, the Johto region, they introduced some beautiful dark types. The only pure dark type Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 2 was Umbreon. The dual dark type Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 2 were Sneasel, Houndour, Houndoom, and Tyranitar. The Johto region didn't have any legendary / mythicals that were dark types, so we can skip over that. And the winner for the best dark type Pokemon to come out in Generation 2 is Umbreon. Okay, sorry, call me a goddamn sheep, alright? But Umbreon has to take the cake here. I mean, if you think of dark type, literally Umbreon is the face of dark type Pokemon. If he came out in any other generation, he would have for sure won. He just happened to come out where the mascot came out for the dark type. So feel bad because I love T-Tar, one of my favorite pseudo legendary Pokemon, but in this specific video, T-Tar came in a close second. Moving on to Generation 3 into the Hoenn region, they actually introduced a pretty decent amount of dark types, a whopping 10 dark type Pokemon. Yeah, kind of crazy. But the pure dark type Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 3 were Poochyena, Mightyena, and Absol. Moving on to the dual dark type Pokemon that got introduced in the Hoenn region were Nuzleaf, Shiftry, Sableye, Carvanha, Sharpedo, Cacturne, and Crawdon. This Generation 2 did not introduce any legendary / mythical dark types, but the winner for the best dark type Pokemon to come out in Gen 3 is Absol. Yeah, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, Absol is pretty fucking based, pretty lit. I mean, the whole concept of Absol is based on this mythological beast, Baize. Please don't kill me if I mispronounce that in Chinese mythology or Hakutaku in Japanese culture. But basically, the sharp scythe that Absol has on its head, being very black, represents yin and yang, especially because Absol itself is all white. And also, they say Absol represents the Grim Reaper because of said scythe. So honestly, with all that, you cannot say Absol is not lit. And having those two megas that are like polar opposites of each other, yeah, Pokemon cooked. Moving on to Gen 4, we are in the Sinnoh region, and this generation actually didn't introduce any normal Dark type Pokemon. You'll understand why I say normal in a few seconds here. The dual Dark type Pokemon though that got introduced in this region were Honchkrow, Stunky, Stuntank, Spiritomb, Drapion, and Weavile. And finally, the first Dark type legendary / mythical Pokemon that got introduced in the Sinnoh region was Darkrai. And the winner for the best Dark type Pokemon to come out in Generation 4 is Darkrai. Yes. I mean, dude, it's the nightmare Pokemon for a reason. And I know earlier in the video in Gen 2, I say Umbreon is the face of Dark type Pokemon, which it is. And I feel like it's the face of the more general audience. But if we're really looking deep into who the actual representation of that said evil, dark Pokemon would be, it is Darkrai. And I had so many great memories of Darkrai. Darkrai was the first ever Pokemon that genuinely wanted to get, but I know back in the games for Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, like you couldn't get this motherfucker unless it's through that special event. Obviously, I was a kid, so I didn't really know or was up to date with these special events at the time. So the only way I could get them, and if you know, was getting the action replay. Yes, I legit only got the action replay because I wanted Darkrai so goddamn bad. And the whole process of getting it was just so sick, and it just brings me back such good memories of just walking through walls, walking on water just to get to this mysterious island that Darkrai was just chilling at. Pokemon, you should have just let us get Darkrai normally, man. What the fuck? Generation 5. Now we're moving on to the Unova region. And I'm not gonna lie, I think they introduced the most Dark type Pokemon out of all the generations with the whopping 16. Yes, 16. But the pair of Dark type Pokemon though that got introduced in this generation were Purloin, Liepard, Zorora, and Zoroark. And a lot more dual Dark type Pokemon that got introduced in the Unova region, which were Sandile, Krokorok, Crocodile, Scraggy, Scrafty, Pawniard, Bisharp, Volibee, Mandibuzz, Dino, Zweilous, and Hydreigon. Generation 5, they did not introduce any Dark type legendary / mythical. I will say, this generation was probably the hardest batch to choose from. I'm not gonna lie, there was 4 that I genuinely had to actually watch videos for each of those said Dark type Pokemon just to kind of like analyze them, see how they move, not live action, but see how they move in the anime, in battle scenes, in the games, because all of these 4 designs are so goddamn peak that it was just hard to judge these said 4 Pokemon based on solely their designs. And the finalists came out to be Bisharp, Crocodile, Zoroark, and Hydreigon. And I feel bad because there are so many other good Dark types too that I didn't even mention. Scraggy, Scrafty, Zorora, and Volibee, Mandibuzz. Psych. Nah, those two are ugly. With said winner.
You may not believe me here, but look, I was literally looking up just any sort of anime clip regarding each of the Pokemon that were in the top contention. Crocodile right here, had to watch a fight with him, had to watch a fight with Bisharp, had to watch a scene with Hydreigon, had to watch a scene here with Zoroark and his, specialty movie. But honestly, this shit was so hard, and it took me a little while to kind of decide who I wanted the best Pokemon from Gen 5 to be. And I had to do it in the incognito mode, if you know, but yeah, if you guys didn't believe me, I had to show proof here because yeah, this shit was ridiculous.
But the winner for the best Dark type Pokemon to come out in Generation 5 is Crocodile. Yeah. And yeah, the reason why I picked Crocodile was because overall, the design, how it moved in the anime, Ash's Crocodile, clips of seeing gameplay footage of Crocodile, my lord, Crocodile has so much aura to it, and it's a goddamn land crocodile, man. You can't go wrong with that. The reason why I didn't choose everyone else, Bisharp, I will say was very close, but I believe that it has a new evolution that I think it actually surpasses Bisharp. Yeah, surprisingly. And Zoroark, I feel bad because it is so unique, especially how its ability is able to have Zoroark transform into the last Pokemon in the party. And honestly, that's his best trait, is just having that ability that no other Pokemon has. But out of all of its design-wise, Zoroark is the least out of the 4. If you had to put it, Hydreigon was 1A to 1B. Hydreigon was so goddamn close, dude. I love Hydreigon so much. Its design is so fucking awesome. It has 3 heads, and 2 of its heads is its hands. because it's literally King Ghidorah in Pokemon form. And I love King Ghidorah. And it was so hard not choosing Hydreigon. But honestly, overall, I had to choose Crocodile. Wow, after that slaughterhouse of a battle, we are moving to Gen 6, the Kalos region. Surprisingly, they didn't introduce any pure Dark type Pokemon here, but the dual Dark type Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 6 were Ninja, Pangoro, Inkay, and Malamar. And finally got some more Dark type legendary / mythical Pokemon, which were Yveltal and Hoopa Unbound. And the winner for the best Dark type Pokemon to come out in Gen 6 is Yveltal. Some of you guys might be surprised as hell thinking Greninja was gonna cakewalk this generation. I wouldn't lie, Greninja was super close, and I wouldn't blame you if you chose Greninja for this generation. But when I see Greninja, I kind of think more of its other typing that it has, more so a Dark type. And that was kind of like the tiebreaker. And also Yveltal is the embodiment of destruction. I mean, that is dark as hell. And on top of that, Yveltal's design is just so tough. Shaped like a Y, it's like a red and black combo. Honestly, one of the best color combos out there, and has like this cool little fur coat around its neck. And the body itself looks like it just has a lot of veins popping out. And I know Greninja is popular. I know a lot of people love Greninja. I mean, the whole world loves Greninja, but Yveltal, when it comes to Dark type Pokemon, is the better candidate here. Now we're moving on to Generation 7, the Alola region. And Gen 7 is going to have two special categories that no other region is going to have, which are the Ultra Beast and the Alolan forms. For the Alola region, there was actually no new pure Dark type Pokemon that got introduced here, but the dual Dark type Pokemon that got introduced was actually only just one, which was Incineroar. Dark type Alolan forms that got introduced in Gen 7 were Alolan Rattata and Alolan Raticate, Alolan Grimer and Muck, and Alolan Meowth and Persian. And there was only one Dark type Ultra Beast that got introduced, which was Guzzlord. And the winner for the best Dark type Pokemon to come out in Gen 7 is Guzzlord. Wow, another shock, as Incineroar is also a fan favorite just like Greninja, and it lost. But hear me out, please. Similar to my reasoning for Greninja, to me, I just think of Incineroar as more of its other typing that it has. And if anything, I actually envision Incineroar more as a fighting type than a Dark type. And I believe they just did a Dark type for Incineroar because they already had 3 other fire / fighting type starters. So I assume Pokemon was like, all right, let's just slap this Dark type on Incineroar and make him black. And
what do you mean by that?
Just slap that on there. But I mean, honestly, it's more of a fighting type because it's based on a wrestler. And don't get me wrong, I like Incineroar. I'm actually one of those people that don't hate on Incineroar. I do like its design a little bit. I know it's a little bit humanoid, which is a little bit kind of creepy, but I love how great it is competitively. I love using Incineroar in Smash. He is kind of lit. He is very fun to play with. But to me, Guzzlord is just one thick, meaty, huge, and you just gotta accept it. Honestly, I think it kind of looks adorable how goddamn huge it is. And you know, got a huge mouth and swallows everything. Definitely need to get me a Guzzlord in my Pokemon party. Moving on to Generation 8, the Galar region, and actually this region has their own unique categories, which are the Galarian forms and the Hisuian forms. Little disclaimer, I know the last video, the fighting type Pokemon, I totally forgot about the Hisuian Pokemon, the whole Hisuian region, but I will not forget them in this video. And moving on. Pure Dark type Pokemon that got introduced in this generation were Nickit and Thievul. The dual Dark type Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 8 were Impidimp, Morgrim, Grimmsnarl, Obstagoon, Overquill, and Morpeko. And we got introduced to some more Dark type legendary / mythicals, which were Urshifu, Single Strike form, and Zarude. The Dark type Galarian forms that got introduced in this generation were Galarian Zigzagoon and Linoon, and Galarian Moltres. The Hisuian forms that got introduced in Gen 8 were Hisuian Samurott and Hisuian Quillfish. The winner for the best Dark type Pokemon to come out in Gen 8 is Grimmsnarl. Shout out to Galarian Moltres. Galarian Moltres was really close. Hisuian Samurott was also up there in contention. But if you're thinking about Gen 8 Dark type, Grimmsnarl is literally it. It's the most popular one for a good reason. Grimmsnarl is so fucking peak with this design, and it's just so emo. Now we are in the last generation, Generation 9, the Paldea region, introducing a whopping 13 new Dark type Pokemon. So we're at the final stretch. Let's go. In this generation, there was actually no Paldean region regional forms, but they had something else special, which are the paradox forms. The pure dark type Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 9 were Maschiff and Mabostiff. Moving on to the dual dark type Pokemon that got introduced, which were Meowscarada, Bombardier, Lokix, and King Gambit. Now we're moving on to the special category for Gen 9, the paradox forms, which were Iron Jugulus, Boot Bonnet, and Roaring Moon. And finally, the dark type legendary / mythical Pokemon that got introduced in Gen 9 were the Treasures of Ruin, Wo-Chien, Chien-Pao, Ting-Lu, and Chi-Yu. And with all that, the winner for the best dark type Pokemon to come out in Generation 9 is King Gambit. Honestly, another tough one. Gen 9 actually had a lot of really solid dark type Pokemon. Meowscarada, Bombardier, Chien-Pao, and Roaring Moon all had heavy consideration here. Yeah, might come as a surprise. I really like Bombardier, okay? I might be like the only fan for that said Pokemon. First off, I didn't choose Chien-Pao because it won in a different video, spoilers, but looking at Chien-Pao, you think of its other typing more as a so-called dark type. And shout out to Meowscarada. A lot of people dog on its design, but I actually think it's pretty peak. I actually like Meowscarada. I like the whole concept of it. Roaring Moon was arguably the closest one because I'm such a huge fan of Salamence. If we were grading based on regional forms, Roaring Moon is probably up there. I mean, dude, it's Salamence, but it looks more detailed, looks more like a dragon with all of its little fur detailing, the wings being more wing-like, if that makes sense. I mean, Salamence looks more kind of more sleek, but Roaring Moon legit looks more like a prehistoric being. But yeah, Roaring Moon is definitely the best pseudo legendary paradox form. Other ones are so goddamn trash. But King Gambit takes the cake slightly because my lord, they cook so hard with King Gambit's design. It's just so beautiful. I mean, Bisharp was already peak and Bisharp was gonna win back in Gen 9 realistically if King Gambit never existed, but because King Gambit existed and the design itself is a lot better, surprisingly. I don't even know how you could improve from Bisharp, but Pokemon found a way. Hope you guys enjoy this video. Now here are all of the winners of every single dark type Pokemon in each generation. Gonna be on the screen here. Take a good look at it. Take a good whiff. Maybe you guys agree. Most likely you guys wouldn't agree. If you guys don't agree, comment down below who you guys think are the best dark type Pokemon in each generation. Remember guys, it's just my opinion. It's not factual unless you think it is, you know, unless you view me very highly. But again, remember, like, subscribe, follow my other socials, links to everything in the description below. Make sure you guys comment down which type you guys want me to prioritize next. Top comment will be it. Hope you guys have a great day. Hopefully something great happens to your life today after you watch this video. And if you're hating on this video, I got one thing to say. Fuck you. Hope you guys enjoy and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.